Hey, my name is Shanshan. I sell art on shanshan.co and specials on eBay. Today we're going to review Jumanji The Next Level. So this is a film by Jack Caston. It's 2 hours, 3 minutes, which I think you need because you have two sets of characters, the young and then the game characters. Our lead actors are Kellen Gillian, replaying her role as Martha. Dwayne Johnson plays Eddie. Jack Black plays Fridge and Bethany. Aquafina plays Ming. Kevin Hart plays Moose Finbar and Fridge. So the story is one of the kids, the original kids are back from the first film, which is the second after the original Jumanji. So this is actually a third film, but but the second where they're connected. And one of the teens is kind of like they've gone off to school, to college, and they're kind of have a falling out. The ones that were the girlfriend, boyfriend at the end of the first film, they've kind of broken up. Things have gone astray. And so this kid, they're supposed to meet up. And then he goes in his basement, finds the Jumanji game, kind of screws around with it and gets sucked into the game, right? Like an idiot. But of course, you need that to start the film, right? So the friends go looking, they find, they're like, oh man, he's in the basement. They're like, oh man, we got to get in the game. But the game's all jacked up, right? Because they've hammered it. So it's kind of halfway functioning. And so the game sucks in some people, but it doesn't suck in the original characters. And not only they have two wrong characters in there, they have the grandfather of this kid Spencer and his old partner when they ran a restaurant together. And those guys get sucked in, and then the original characters get sucked in, but to different characters. So they're all jacked up coming in. So that's a really fun way to start the story. They're not even playing the same roles. So these actors are really stretched to see, can they actually play a different role? So so they get sucked in, and then they have to do this adventure in Jumanji, of course, to get this Falcon's Light crystal. That's their whole adventures, trying to figure out how to get to that jewel. So one of the elements in the film is this magic waters that they find. So, one of the clues, they have to get this fruit, and then one of them falls in this electric water, and they find out, oh, you come out and you hold hands, and then boom, you switch characters, right? So they swap characters. So you have Martha and Jack Black. So Karen Gillian and Jack Black, they switch characters briefly. So they get to explore Beth. Martha gets this powers of, first it's the girl that came in the first time, and then it's switched with Fridge, and Fridge is this big football player, a teenager, and he's like, oh my god, I finally got a body that works, and he's like, oh, I got tits, and so it's kind of funny, but they don't show that scene, which would have been kind of fun, but I guess maybe a little bit inappropriate with the PC culture we have. Also, you really don't need to show it. You kind of know that, once he says it, it's kind of, you either show it or you tell it, so choose to tell it there. And so they find out they have this magical water, and then they're just switched. So they're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And these characters that have been put in there, since they didn't get put in the right order, they're not hitting the best talents of the characters. So this kind of gets to your classic video game play where, when everyone plays a game, especially a fighting game where you have multiple characters, there's always a certain character you really do well with. And so it gets to that root of classic video game play. Some people fit in different roles, so if you swap them, then it's just a complete disaster. So because this old guy gets sucked into Kevin Hart, who's playing Moose Finbar, who's the old guy. So Moose Finbar gets in there and he just talks super slow. And so by the time he explains it, they're killed by like multiple events because he can't explain fast enough the zoology explanation. They're like, dude, just snap to it, give us the reason. So they kind of have this old versus the new teenager mind versus the old grandpa mind. So the grandpa is full of wisdom, wants to tell a long story, but that doesn't work when you're being hunted in Jumanji, so that's kind of fun. Same thing with The Rock. He's playing Eddie, this partner of Moose Finbar, and then he also plays another role, I don't remember which, but he plays the original role that gets swapped around. So that's a pretty fun role that they switch characters. I don't know if the beginning part works as well, playing Kevin Hart and the old guy, and then Dwayne Johnson playing the old guy. You get that dynamic, but it's just not the same. It's kind of a grumpy old argument versus when they're teenagers, kind of the teenager element. So the teenager element, I think, works better in the first film versus these old guys fighting, but it kind of adds this really interesting element. And you kind of have this redemption story for the old guys. They had originally ran a restaurant together, and then you find that over time. They don't show it, but they tell it, which obviously with 2 hours, you don't have much time. So I guess that works, just telling it versus showing. It kind of would have been cool to maybe flash back some of those scenes where they're working the restaurant, they're a big team and all that, and then they have this falling out. I think maybe that would have added some more element, but you kind of had the young teenagers that get sucked in kind of role, so that's a good 10-15 minutes of the film. So if you added that, you might have 5 more minutes of film, but 5 minutes might have worked. I don't know. It might have been a different option as far as editing and shooting the film. That's kind of like the really core story. You have this redemption story for the old guys, like they broke up, and then they work together as a team in the film, and then they kind of realize, oh, we're still good friends. And then later one of them decides to stay in the game because he has cancer in the real world, so makes sense. Better to live in Jumanji than die of cancer, right? So yeah, it's kind of a fun film, lighthearted, nothing serious. But I mean, I didn't expect much out of this film besides it just being kind of a fun comedy, just lighthearted. And I think as far as that, it works. I don't see it being probably more of a DVD movie, I would say, because you don't really need, there's only certain types of films, I would say, nowadays it's worth going to the cinema, like Ford vs. Ferrari, the real racing scenes, and the action's dramatic. The action is dramatic in here, but again, it's just an adventure, silly movie. I don't know if, with everyone having HD TV, if you have to really see it in the cinema, because I saw it in IMAX, so it's like the super over the top, but, I didn't feel like it would have been less so in another cinema, but it probably made it more fun, I would say, than it probably is on TV. It's probably just an average film, but it's funner in a cinema. So, but I don't know if they're using all the cinema elements to make a difference versus your HD TV, so to say. But yeah, if you're looking for a film to kind of get over the Christmas blues, December blues, this is a pretty fun film. Hopefully you guys like it. Give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.